This is the September 12th meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals.
We have a,
First off, let's have our,
The extensions? Okay. There were two requests for extensions. One of them is Appeal 2018-029 for Charity Osuna. They're requesting their first one-year extension, thus expiring June 28th of 2020.
so moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
This one.
The second one is Appeal number 2017-52 for McCarthy Management, 1377 Pulaski Street. They're requesting their second one-year extension, thus expiring October 26th, 2020.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then
Okay.
there's a decision for area Riverhead Retail.
Okay. I move that the appeal of Riverhead Retail Partners LLC, 245 West Main Street, for variances and/or relief from Chapter 301, Section 236A1, where landscaped area of 9.3 feet in depth is proposed and the minimum required is 25 feet. Be granted in accordance with the applications and sketches with amendments thereto, if any, as filed with the building inspector.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. They go back.
Okay, first appeal is 2019-17, Anacletus Galasso III, 1116 Main Road, Aquabog, tax map number 600-6831, RLC zoning, for appeal of the denial of current zoning under Chapter 301, Section 64A3, for determination interpretation that office retail use is permitted on the premises as a pre-existing non-conforming use, even though the present zoning requires retail uses within the rural corridor zoning use district to have frontage along New York State Route 25 between South Jamesport and Washington Avenues and their logical extensions.
Good evening, Patricia Stern, 110 Lake Avenue South, Suite 46, Wisconsin, New York, 11767. I'm counsel for Vinland Commons, the applicant, and we had a previous hearing, and we have now amended our application to include a request for a determination and/or interpretation that office and retail use is permitted on the premises as a pre-existing non-conforming use, even though the present zoning requires retail use within the rural corridor zoning use district to have frontage along New York State Route 25 between South Jamesport and Washington Avenue. As we stated at the last hearing, office and retail use is the only practical use for Country Commons, as it is located on the main thoroughfare in the hamlet of Aquabog. And I'm here for any questions you may have.
Now, this is a new application. You're reapplying, right?
No, we amended the previous application.
Okay. But you had to repost and everything like
We
that?
reposted, we did all that. I handed in the proofs.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? Anyone else to be heard? Please step up.
You still wanna go to the next week?
Yeah.
She wants to write a decision.
Okay. Can you kindly raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Kindly state your name and your address.
Lisa Poyer, 44 West Apollo Drive in Aquabog. I live just north of the property in the Apollo area. While I understand that the applicant is requesting a retail use here, and it has been previously reviewed and was approved with retail use, my concerns are, I know that 7-Eleven, they said was gonna go in here, it's no longer part of wanting to go in here, but approving a retail use here, there's no distinguishing in the current zoning code between a 7-Eleven, a shoe shop, a CVS, or any of the other more intensification of retail uses. So if you approve it, is there any mechanism of categorizing or doing different levels of retail use allowed here? Because right now, there's no mechanism triggering, if you do approve it, a 7-Eleven turning around and saying, we wanna go in there. We want a Starbucks, we want a Dunkin' Donuts. That's not a good use for this site. I understand if a shoe store wants to come in here, That's what I consider a minimal or dry retail use. A 7-Eleven is not a dry retail use. I don't know if the site can, hold that. Can a liquor store go in there? It could right now if you approved it. There just needs to be some look at the intensification of the uses on the property.
Counsel?
And the zoning board can condition the approval
Okay.
in consideration of those types of things.
Could they condition an approval where they list more like less intense dry retail uses as general, as permitted, as an automatic, that they could go to the building department, get a building permit for it, and then more intense uses where they would require them to go through a site plan review process with the planning board, with additional public hearings?
The zoning board can condition the approval on anything that's related to, minimizing any negative impacts that might result from the decision, so.
Okay, because right now the code lumps
Yeah.
all those retail uses together.
Understand.
And even reading the rural corridor regulations, it even discusses at the bottom about a retail shop, and it can only be, has to be closed for certain hours of the day.
Mhm.
Can't be open 24 hours. But even so, like a Dunkin' Donuts could go in there. I know that they're in Jamesport and they probably wouldn't go here, but something else like that, like a Starbucks could go in there. And
As
it's
long as
just,
the condition is rationally related to the approval, the zoning board could do that.
okay. And then, you wouldn't be part of anything with regards to sanitary flow and the additional flow going
No,
into there?
this
That's all
board's
health department.
only considering the zoning at this point. That
Okay.
would be the if they were able to move forward from here to the planning board, then the planning board would have the authority to manage all of the site improvements and anything like that.
Would there be any language in there potentially that would limit the size of the retail use in there right now? Because right now, there's no limitation where a use could go and take on an entire building. And that would be a bigger retail use instead of 3 or 4 smaller shops in the one building, or it could decide to take the whole complex. I don't know. There's nothing in there that triggers additional review with the planning board. So, I mean, a CVS could go in there. If it decided to take one building, it could do a small,
If they left it straight retail, yes, I agree with you, but if they conditioned it and said something like, dry retail only, or no formula stores, or chain stores, or
Okay.
something like that,
that's something that's my concern.
yes.
I have no objection to a hat shop or a shoe shop or a small clothing boutique shop or something. He has a livelihood, he has to make money off of the shop as well. But we also live right there, and I don't want people driving all hours of the night up and down our streets and, doing crazy things.
Okay.
So I'd just like the board to be conscientious of that.
And we are.
Okay, I didn't know. I
No,
saw the last
No,
hearing.
we appreciate you coming up, please.
I was unable to attend, but I saw the last hearing on video, and so.
Well, you made up for it.
That wasn't mentioned in here. But I just wanted to voice my concern. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else to be heard? Okay, we're gonna do a reserve decision on this thing.
Yeah, we have,
Oh, sure, counsel.
It was our understanding that there was a restriction, a time restriction on the retail use, that there was no operation for 24 hours, so is there,
you mean under the prior zoning?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so anything that, if the board were to interpret as you have requested, that, anything from that zoning would certainly, be applicable.
okay. And also I believe there's a school currently,
The school in there, and there's also an investment company.
there's a school in there, so there would be no liquor stores allowed because it would be in too close of a proximity of the school. So we just wanted to point that out for the board. Thank you.
I just want to point out, the school could leave, and then a liquor store could turn around and come in. And you're charged with thinking not only of the immediate plan, but going forward in the future. The homeowner, or the property owner could say, I'm gonna sell it tomorrow with the retail uses, and the new property owner could decide, you know what, I wanna go put Starbucks in there. So, I just wanted to voice my comments. Thanks.
I think we'll be very clear.
Okay. All right, so we're just gonna do a reserve decision.
Yeah.
Okay.
The school has a 10-year lease. It was just renewed, so they will be there for at least 10 years. With regard to chain stores, you know, I'm not sure that a blanket restriction on chain stores, you know, is something that really is necessary. I can understand you wanting to limit it to some things, but, you know, there shouldn't be like a blanket restriction of no chain stores, because that really does limit them to what they can and can't put in there. I know there's an Ace Hardware right across the street, so it seems kind of unfair that they would be limited to chain stores when other people, you know, right across the street are not. That's it. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, if no one else is to be heard on this matter, I move that appeal number 2019-017 be put off to the next meeting for a reserved decision.
So there'll be a decision next week.
Next meeting.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Mrs. Worthington.
Aye.
Mr. Whitmire.
Aye.
Mr. Seabrook.
Aye.
And I vote aye. So we'll see you folks next meeting. Hopefully keep everybody happy.
That would
never
be
keep
what, the
everybody.
26th? What's that, the 26th?
Yeah. Appeal number 2019-37, Claudia Arias, 153 Oliver Street, Wading River, tax map number 600-104-246, RA 40 zoning, for variances and or relief from chapter 301, section 11, where proposed front yard setback is 37.4 feet, for the porch, 42.3 feet, for the proposed addition, and minimum required is 50 feet, and where proposed combined side yard is 45.4 feet, and minimum required is 55 feet.
And if you kindly raise your right hand, you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
State your name and your address.
Larry Buscemi, P.O. Box 679, Mount Sinai, New York. Agent for the applicant.
The other floor?
This is an application for two structures, both proposed. One is a one-story addition, 24 by 34, on the side of the house, on the north side of the house, and the other one's a small front entry that is 6 by 16 in the front of the house. The side addition has, as proposed, would have a 31.7-foot setback to the north property line. The difficulty comes when in the aggregate, because we only have about 45 feet of aggregate setbacks when 50 is required, which is about a 10% reduction if you were to grant it. The character of the neighborhood is such that this would be more than in keeping of it, with it. I have a photo of, an aerial photo, if I may present.
Sure.
Property to the north, which is the one would be most affected, is Lewin Medical, a commercial operation with a very large driveway full of trucks all day long. Behind it is a large shopping center. In front of it is another large shopping center. So they're attractive structures, and I think given the character of the neighborhood, we ask that the application be granted.
Anything else to be heard on this matter? Sports fans?
We're good?
I'm good. Lisa? Okay. All right.
Who's got it?
You want me to read it?
You got it.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that appeal number 19-037, Claudia Arias, 153 Oliver Street, Riverhead, for variances to and or relief from Chapter 301, Section 11, where proposed front yard setback is 37.4 feet for the porch and 42.3 feet for the proposed addition, and minimum required is 50 feet, and where proposed combined side yard is 45.4 feet, and minimum required is 55 feet, be granted in accordance with the applications and sketches with amendments thereto, if any, as followed with the building inspector.
Second?
Mrs. Worthington?
Aye.
Mr. Whitmire.
Aye.
Mr. Seabrook.
Aye.
And I vote aye. So the appeal has been granted, and about 2 weeks from now, paperwork should be ready for you.
Very good, thank you, have a great night.
You too.
Appeal number 2019-38, Eric Berry, 198 Middle Road, tax map number 684-339.4, RA 40 zoning for variances and/or relief from chapter 301, section 11, where proposed reconstruction extension of front porch in the front yard setback is 22.2 feet, a minimum required is 40 feet, where rear deck constructed without permit is 5.3 feet from property line, a minimum required is 10 feet, where hot tub installed without permit is 6.9 feet from property line, a minimum required is 10 feet, and where frame shed with roof over extension is 4.6 feet from property line, and minimum required is 5 feet from any property line.
Kindly raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth? So help you God. I'll state your names and your addresses.
Eric Berry, 198 Middle Road, Riverhead, New York.
Dale Berry, 198 Middle Road, Riverhead, New York.
Go ahead, let's hear this. Pull that microphone down a little bit.
Well, we're looking to rebuild our front porch there. We've been there 32 years. Place is falling apart in the front there. We want to rebuild our front porch. The lot next to us, we've been maintaining for almost the same amount we've lived there. For 32 years, it's a vacant lot. We now have a garden there. We, maintain it. I don't know. In 1995, when Steve and Sophie Lewandowski lived there, they gave us the property. We had it surveyed.
It was going through to be merged into
Gotta
our
speak
property.
into the mic, please.
I'm sorry. It was going through to be merged into our property. We have it on the survey here. But then he passed away and his son sold the house. And when he sold the house, the property went with it. But the person who has the house now, put a fence where an existing fence was. He put a newer fence up. And
6-foot chain link.
the property we've just been maintaining it for all those years.
So,
That's the piece of property that is saying it's too close for the
right.
back deck.
The frame shed in the back, in the very back, you use that for a lot of things, or?
It's just storage.
Hey. So you thought you were going to own that property and then,
It didn't go through.
Well, what happened is the lawyer sat on it. We had surveyed, we have all the stuff done to it, but what happened, the lawyer sat on it, and Mr. Steve passed away, and the son didn't want anything to do with anything, so we sold the house to Kenny, which lives there now, but with that property, it's adjacent with his property, but he doesn't, he doesn't maintain it or anything,
Use it.
but it is his property, as the survey says.
Is that, excuse me, is it the corner piece or is it the
It's-
Kenneth
Can
split?
I show you on this one?
This pie-shaped piece here that says that it was gonna be merged. All property.
That's this, right?
yes.
Yes.
Okay. So that now is owned by someone else.
Well, when he sold the house, I guess it didn't go through as to going to our property. So yes, when he bought the house, and then he came over, he said he wanted to sell it to us, and his mortgage was like, you can't do that. You have a mortgage, you can't just sell a piece of property. Cause he didn't want it, he doesn't want it either. so we've just maintained it for,
Did you get a letter or anything from him? Have you spoken to him?
from the man who lives there now.
Mm.
He had spoken to my husband a couple of times about selling it to us.
Yeah, it's just, like I said, it's just a vacant lot. I mean, we have our garden there, we've had our garden there for years.
Their property is all, he's all fenced.
Yeah, we
off.
understand. Okay, I understand. Mm. You know, I'd like to see a letter from him, just to say something, what do you, Councilman? Well,
Is he opposed to your, structures being that close to his line?
No.
No.
She wouldn't need a variance. They thought they were gonna own.
We sent him the letter, you know, he got the receipt from the letter, that what we were gonna do,
they
you know,
already
for
been
the,
there. They thought they were
for the
gonna try to
variance.
put something pretty
Yeah.
together.
he said everything is
So they
fine.
took down the old fence and he put up a brand new fence. He doesn't wanna maintain that property. But he can't sell it because he has a
Right,
mortgage.
right. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, if he says, okay, then,
Yeah, I'd rather get something from him.
Okay.
yeah, that's.
You know, I don't think we really have a problem with this, but, you know, we'd like something from the owner of that property that he's happy with you, what you've done, and something along that line.
Okay, and it would be fine for the structures and,
I think we'll be fine with that. Okay?
all right.
So that's the best we can do for you.
Oh, that sounds good.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, thank you very
Anyone
much.
else be here on this matter? Nope, okay.
I move,
Through all this again?
Do we,
We're gonna have you at the next meeting. Just if you can, in the meantime, get a letter from him stating
to Carissa.
the obvious, that he doesn't,
what if he gives it to us? Can
What,
he do
give-
that? Like the property? But
I don't
that's,
think he-
that's
I
all.
don't
listen,
think he
that's
can.
beyond, that's beyond me.
No,
Whatever.
okay,
But
all right.
If he can, just,
So, excuse me, Mr. Chairman?
yeah,
What's in question here are the variances. It's got nothing to do with the property. The variances are that it's too close to the property line, right?
Right.
That's correct.
So that's only, get us the letter, and then, like Mr. Chairman said,
All right,
So you just want it stated from him that he's okay with
with
our
what you've got,
structures
what you have
being-
done, where everything is there and he has no intention of using that property, that's fine.
okay, thank you.
You want me to adjourn it?
Yeah,
or-
sure,
okay.
please.
I move that appeal 19-38, 198 Middle Road, Riverhead, be adjourned to the next meeting, which is September 26th.
September
Second.
26th.
So moved.
All right, Ms. Worthington.
Aye.
Mr. Whitmire.
Aye.
Mr. Seabrook.
Aye.
And I vote aye.
The next one, I'm gonna step out for, because nothing yet, but have some talking.
Okay, sounds good. Read away there, young lady.
no, I think
The last appeal is 2019-39 Henry and Dale Weiner, 31 Bay Woods, Aquabog, tax map number 600-113-418, RB40 zoning, for variances and/or relief from chapter 301, section 17, where rebuilt dwelling increases impervious surface coverage to 38.4% and maximum permitted is 15%, where front yard setback is 41.7 feet and minimum required is 50 feet, where rear yard setback is 16.1 feet and minimum required is 60 feet, where side yard setbacks are 12.6 feet and 5.9 feet and minimum required is 25 feet, where combined side yard is 18.1 feet and minimum required is 55 feet. And section 222E, where addition increases gross floor area within front and rear yards, increasing the degree of nonconformity of a pre-existing nonconforming dwelling which is not permitted.
Good evening, Mr.
Good
Cuddy.
evening. Charles Cuddy for the applicant, with an office at 445 Griffin Avenue, Riverhead. It nearly seems too early. This is a parcel that's in the RB40 district, and it's a small parcel. It's 4,500 square feet. It has an existing cottage on it of approximately 700 square feet, just a little bit less than that. And the proposal here is to take that residence and demolish it and to build in exactly the footprint that's there and go up 2 stories. The Weiners are here. They would like to retire to the house, but they need to have another bedroom. They can now have a 3-bedroom house. This is a structure that already had a pre-CO on it. They have gotten permission from the DEC. It's no jurisdiction. We've attached that to the application. They have the CAC approval. We have the health department ready to stamp our map as soon as we can file a covenant with the county. The variances here would be exactly the same variances if we had the cottage that was there and asked for variances on it. We don't change anything by making this application. I would point out to you that it's a single-family residence area. It's not going to harm the neighbors at all to have another single-family house of similar size to what's there for many houses at this point. It certainly doesn't have any burden on the environment. And the alternative would be not to have a full residence. It's substantial only because the code makes it substantial, because the code is somewhat difficult, as everybody knows. The lot was created years ago. They didn't do that, and I don't think that the section 222E applies because it's an existing residence that has no really lot line changes and has no setback differences from what's already there. So I would ask the board to approve the application as submitted.
Anyone on the board have any problems?
Anybody out there that wanna speak?
And where are these folks retiring from?
Mr. Weinert is a member of the Northwell Health Group. He now works with Mr. Mitchell at the Peconic Bay Medical Center. He's coming here from Plainview, and he wants to live here.
Welcome.
Well, if they come from Brooklyn, I don't think we'd have any problem with it, but Plainfield.
I came from Brooklyn, but that's okay.
Clark Slope? Close, Bay Ridge. Okay, nobody else has any problems with this? Nobody out in the audience, nobody on the board? Let's have a reading.
I move that appeal of Henry and Dale Warnard at 31 Bay Woods, Aquabog, tax map number 600-113-4-18, RB 40 zoning for variances and relief from chapter 301, section 17, where a rebuilt dwelling increases impervious surface coverage to 38.4% and a maximum permitted is 15%, where front yard setback is 41.7 feet and the minimum required is 50 feet, where a rear yard setback is 16.1 feet and the minimum required is 60 feet, where side yard setbacks are 12.2 and 5.9 and the minimum required is 25, where combined side yard is 18.1 and the minimum required is 55. And section 222E, where addition increases gross floor area within front and rear yards, increasing the degree of nonconformity of a pre-existing nonconforming dwelling, which is not permitted, be granted in accordance with the applications and the sketches with the amendments thereto, if any, as filed with the building inspector.
Second?
Mrs. Worthington?
Aye.
Mr. Whitmire?
Aye.
Mr. Seabrook?
Aye.
And I vote aye. So, welcome to the neighborhood, and
Good luck.
enjoy yourselves.
Thank you.
I don't know if I'd want to work for that president out there at that hospital, though. He's a little shaky. All right. All right, thank you, Mr. Cuddy, as always.
Thank you.
All right, do we hear a motion to accept the minutes of the last meeting?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favor?
A motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
I think
Second.
Are we all in favor?
Aye.
We are. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
It was a lovely meeting.